Hey everybody, Chris here with some SmplTrek news. So hot off the heels of the version 3 update that Sonicware recently released for the 8-bit warps, there is a version 3 update for the SmplTrek, which is their portable production sampler. We get some great new features, including a performance mode that enables us to tweak our sounds and play from the home screen. We've got scene looping too from the home screen. Legato and mono modes have been added to the instrument tracks along with the glide. We've got more copy options from the home screen, including being able to copy items between tracks. We've got a Transpose feature for our instrument and MIDI tracks, which can be added on a per clip or track basis. We've got an auto step feature, which is helpful when we are step recording. We can now turn on and off the metronome from within the clip edit screen, and we've also got a pre-count only option for our metronome. There are also small tweaks like being able to select scenes via MIDI and some bug fixes. So let's jump in and take a look. So let's check out the performance mode first. I've got this project loaded up here from an old YouTube jam. It's got a MIDI track at the top, drum and instrument tracks below. We enter performance mode by holding function and pressing the left selection key below the screen. And then the display will change to this. And as you can see, we scroll up and down, our colour of our buttons at the bottom changes depending on which of these instruments we've got, because now we've got direct access to playing the various instruments on the keys at the bottom. We can't select the MIDI track because we are restricted to drum, instrument and loop track when we're using the performance mode. But what we've got here on the knobs is quick access to some of the parameters. So if I play this and tweak the frequency, that's going to change the cutoff of the filter that I've selected for this bass sound, and then this B knob here will be the gain. Depending on which filter type you selected, it will be either gain or resonance. And if we want to reset them back to 0, we just press the knobs and they pop back to 0. So also we've got a send and a level here. So this string sound has quite a lot of reverb on it, so if I play I can turn the send down. And it just becomes completely dry. And then we can change the level from here too, so say those drums, drop the level, and that just gives you a way to add some extra layers to your performance. So we can exit this mode by holding function and pressing perform again, or if we're in here and we go into one of the menus on the SmplTrek, that will pop us out of it too. But that doesn't include the metronome menu. We can get in and out of there without exiting the performance mode. So while we're in here as well, we can, like I said, we can play on the keys below. We've also got access to Transpose here too, just like when we're in the clip edit menu. So this will take us up. Same with function, and these keys either side of the keyboard, pressing these will pop us up and up and down an octave at a time as we press them. So the settings shown within the performance mode are actually offsets. So if you've got a low frequency set on your filter, you'll still see 0 here. This is just going to alter it by a certain amount, plus or minus whatever that setting already is. It's also worth noting that if you exit this mode, so you change that frequency down and you exit performance mode, that's still going to stay in place and will be there until you load another project. The reason this is now possible, we've got a smooth tweaking of this frequency, is that the code for the EQs has been optimized, so they no longer click when they're being adjusted. That is also true of when we go into our mixer and we go into the details for the filter. Shifting the frequency from here will no longer cause clicks either. So another new feature is to be able to set up loops within our project. So if we hold function and press the right button below the screen, we're going to turn on loop mode, and as you can see, the little bar above the cells on the home screen changes to represent how looping will work. By default, the entire project loops, but we can define a loop within our menu. So if we go into the project menu here, we can see a new selection in settings, playback. So that's new. We can turn on and off loop mode from here too, but we can also define where the loop point will be. So if I select scenes 2 and 3, that's where the loop's going to be. So as you can see, that little bar above the cells has changed again. So if I hit play now, scene 1 will play, and then once we get to the end of scene 3, it will go back to the start of scene 2. So I'll just show that now. These loop points are saved within the project, and they can also be combined with the performance modes to give you a bit more control over how the project plays. Please note though that it's not compatible with the global tracks, so the global tracks won't play while using the loop mode. Another great new feature, and something that's been requested quite a lot, is the addition of legato and mono modes within our instruments. So if we go into our instrument track here and use the pop-up menu, keep going around until we get to the voice tab, we can see we've got some new selections here on knobs C and D. We can scroll through from poly, mono and legato. So originally polyphonic was the only option, so playing chords. Now we can set this to mono, so one note at a time, with some glide, so we can turn this up and it will glide between those notes. On mono, the sample is going to restart every time, but if we change it to legato, the sample will just keep looping. Great for strings and voices and basses and all sorts of things. It's just a great way to be able to control your sound. These settings are global across the whole project, so the entire track will now play using these settings. We can also see that in here if we go into the track menu and into the envelope and voice menu. We can see at the bottom C and D are selected legato and the glide time that we picked. Copying of clips from the home screen has been improved, so we can now copy between tracks. So I can take this bass sound and copy it into the strings below if we want to. We can use it on drums too, obviously, so I've just created a new drum track here with the pop kit in it. So if I take this rhythm, I can press OK and copy that down onto this new drum track. And now it's not possible to copy, for example, drums to an instrument track or instrument track to drums, but we can copy between MIDI and instrument tracks. Another nice new thing is being able to transpose our MIDI and instrument tracks. So just as an example of this, I'm going to copy this instrument track down. So this is our strings, function OK, and then into a new track. So that's just a copy of our strings. So if I drop into one of these cells, we can play our sequence how it is originally. If we go into the pencil icon here, we've got a new transpose menu. From here we can alter the transposition with the A knob. So if we play that at -5, that'll move it down 5 semitones. Please note though that it hasn't actually moved the notes in the sequence. This transposition happens between the sample and the notes. But it's a good way to transpose your sample without editing it. The reason I copied the instrument track down is now this forms a chord. So this is the original pitch of the instrument and this copy below is now 5 semitones lower. So when we play, we've formed a chord between those two channels. So it's quite a nice easy way to form chords if you want to work like that. We can apply transposition on a per clip basis, which is what I've just shown, or we can do it on a per track basis by going into the track menu. And we can apply transposition from here. So if we scroll over, we can see on the D knob we've got transposition, and that will affect the whole track at once. We also now have an auto step feature, just like the Livens. This is helpful when we are creating non-real-time step sequences. So if I just add an extra drum clip here, we've got our drum track. If we hold function under the left selection button, you can see it says auto off 1 and 2. So off will just paste notes in place, and you can move around with the cursor like before. But now if we go function and 1, a new note will advance the sequence. So we can change that to 2 and it will skip. And it will include your velocity. So this works with drum, instrument and MIDI tracks. Also, while we're in the clip edit screen, we can now turn the metronome on and off very easily from here too. So function and the right selection button turns the metronome on and off again. Also, if we have a pre-count set up, which is done from the main metronome menu on the home screen, if we press record without the metronome switched on, now we'll get that pre-count and then the metronome will fall silent. Which is useful if you just want to count in and you don't want the metronome to play while you're recording. So one or two other small little things, we have the ability now to switch scenes via MIDI, so we can send program change messages over and we can switch scenes. That will be detailed in the MIDI implementation chart, and there's been plenty of bug fixes too. So I think that about covers it. Please let me know in the comments below if I've missed anything or there's anything you don't understand, and please like and subscribe. thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again. Cheers.